Good evening, everyone. It's now 6 p.m., so we'll now begin. The meeting being held tonight is a public meeting held under the Planning Act. Notice of collection, personal information collected as a result of the public meeting are collected under the authority of the Planning Act and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. Persons speaking at the meeting are requested to give their name and address for the recording of minutes. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments may be collected and may form part of the minutes, which will be available to the public. Additionally, interested members of the public can email the committee clerk or the assigned planner if they wish to be notified regarding a particular application. Questions regarding this collection should be forwarded to the Director of Planning Services. Tonight's meeting is to consider public meeting reports. These reports do contain a staff recommendation, and the recommendation is typically to approve with conditions or to deny. After the planner's presentation, committee members will be able to ask questions of staff, followed by members of the public. Following the questions and answers period, this committee then makes a recommendation on the applications to City Council, who has the final say on the applications. Following Council's decision, notice will be circulated in accordance to the Planning Act. If a person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision to the Council of the Corporation of the City of Kingston to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make a written submissions to the City of Kingston before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. So now we'll call the public meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Do I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda with the addendum? Councillor Usarov, and then seconded by Councillor Osanik. Is there any discussion about it? Okay, so all in favor? And that passes. So do I have a mover and seconder to confirm the minutes of the meeting number 17-2024? Moved by Councillor Shaves, seconded by Councillor Glenn. All in favor? That passes. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? There are no delegations, there are no briefings this evening. So we'll move on to the only item on the report, which is our recommendation report for 1519 Shira Drive, and I invite staff to introduce this report.
Good evening, and through the chair, my name is Ian Clendenning, a senior planner with the City of Kingston, and tonight I'm presenting a recommendation report regarding applications for an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment related to the two properties at 1519 Shira Drive and at the northwest corner of Cataraqui Woods Drive and Bay Ridge Drive, as well as an amending subdivision agreement for the property at 1519 Shira Drive. The purpose and effect of the applications are to facilitate the development of 11 residential lots on the property located at 1519 Shira Drive, while allowing the future development of the commercial block, which is planned for the Woodhaven secondary plan area, to take place approximately 230 meters east of its current location at 1519 Shira Drive. The amending subdivision agreement for 1519 Shira Drive is intended to allow for the orderly development of this block for a residential purpose. Here, the two subject properties are outlined in black, with Site 1 at the left identifying 1519 Shira Drive, which is proposed to be redesignated to mid-rise residential and rezoned to urban residential 3. To the right, Site 2 is proposed to be redesignated to district commercial and rezoned to the district commercial zone with a E173 overlay, which is only a portion of the broader subject lands outlined in black. The location puts the commercial development in closer proximity to Bay Ridge Drive, an arterial road, while maintaining its corner block location. The proposed redesignation and rezoning of Shira Drive would allow for mid-rise residential policies of the Cataraqui West secondary plan to apply to these lands, with urban residential zoning applied to in line with these policies. The designation and zoning would be consistent with the surrounding area and allow for 11 residential lots, as illustrated on the right, The amending subdivision agreement would ensure requirements for noise attenuation, grading, and other measures are consistent with the planned residential use. The proposed redesignation and rezoning of Site 2 would allow for district commercial policies of the Cataraqui West Secondary Plan to apply to these lands, with district commercial zoning in line with those policies, and an exception overlay generally carrying over the site-specific provisions which currently relate to the prior Shira Drive lands. Given the above, it is my professional planning opinion that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, that it conforms to the official plan, and that appropriate zoning provisions have been developed. The proposed development represents good land use planning, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendment and the amending subdivision agreement. Staff have not heard correspondence from the public with respect to this application. Subject to approval, Site 1 would require part lot to control to allow for the further separation of the residential lots within the block, while Site 2 would require draft and final plan of subdivision, with the commercial block being subject to site plan control, where detailed design would be confirmed. Having said the above, I welcome any questions the committee might have.
Are there any questions from committee? Councillor Shaves?
Thank you. I think the first question I'm going to have and ask is a point of clarification. In reading the report, it talks about Site 1, Site 2. And in regard to Site 2, it refers to a number of different extra items. But seeing the exhibits, B and C, it showed a smaller area within a larger area. Could you confirm, because it talks about other things such as parks and green space, are we referring to the smaller area within Site 2, like shady area, or the whole area?
Thank you, great question, and through the chair, I'm happy to help clarify that. I've pulled up here the location slide, which illustrates the broader parcel of land being the northeast corner of Bay Ridge and Cataraqui Woods Drive, only a part of which is being redesignated and rezoned in anticipation of a future plan of subdivision where this would form one singular lot. So it's only that area, which is slightly larger than what is referred to as Site 1, that would be redesignated commercial. So there's a marginal increase in the size of the commercial designation.
Okay, because I read an area about a park being in there. It sounded like it'd be about the same size of Site 2. So going back to this, under the table of zoning comparison, existing commercial and proposed commercial site, on page 9, it says Site 2 proposed exceptions, mixed-use building, apartment building, house development, semi-detached townhome. Is that in reference to the area outside the specific area?
Through the chair, to clarify, that would only rezone that area in thatched, identified here as Site 2, the smaller subset of that northeast corner of Bay Ridge and Cataraqui, northwest corner of Cataraqui Woods and Bay Ridge Drive.
So with this exemption, that gives the potential of residential units being in that area.
There exists a potential. So a maximum of one building would be permitted, be that a single detached dwelling or one of the suite of uses is a mixed use or apartment building. So a singular building could be permitted with that zoning. It would be only through part lot control or further severance that a greater number of buildings could be permitted.
And would that have to come to planning committee before that happens?
That would have to be approved by the City of Kingston, either through the Committee of Adjustment, were it to be a consent to sever, or going to council for part lot control bylaw.
Okay, so under this proposal and the way it's worded, we are currently looking at having a commercial building there, which we can constitute as one building, correct? So beyond that, could be on the lot. But there's also the option of having an apartment building there if it was so chosen.
Correct.
And that would not need any other approvals. Or would it?
It would represent a slight underutilization of the property, but it would be permitted under the way the zoning is worded.
Okay, because where I'm going is, I'll say it, I want that commercial lot there, in order for sustainability. Yeah, so, okay. Is there any way of removing that apartment building from this application or this report?
Through the chair, it would be within the power of this committee to recommend to council an amended version, and I defer to James Barra, Manager of Development Approvals, to elaborate any further on that.
Thanks, and through you, Chair, I would actually look to the clerks for the most appropriate mechanism on how to amend a zoning bylaw that's been brought forward by staff to this committee and how best to go about that through the process if members of planning committee wanted to recommend changes to the bylaw to council as it moves forward.
I'll take this one for Christine. So through the chair, my name is Ian Sullivan. I am a committee clerk with the City of Kingston. So if the committee wishes to make an amendment to change the zoning bylaw, we will need that in writing, exactly where in the zoning bylaw the piece would be. And we'll need planning staff's help to determine where that is. We would then require more than likely a brief recess to be able to draft that amendment. The item would also have to be on the floor for us to get through that process. And then the item would, if the amendment passes, the the recommendation would go to council for final approval at that stage.
Okay. Because basically, I'll be honest, I don't want an out for not having this commercial building. And I don't care there's apartment buildings next to the commercial building, but the commercial unit has to come first. So this is my fear of being the second time of this being moved, so. And my amendment, my recommendation would be just very simple, just the removal of the option of having an apartment building. At least within that severed area, that's it. If they want to build it outside the recommended area or the one we're talking about, I'm okay with that. You
So
still
you
need something in paper?
Are you wanting to make an amendment?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess so we can get that worded up.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've been told it's, the item's not on the floor yet. Paul? Councillor Shaves? Councillor Shaves? Councillor Shaves? So we can't do the amendment yet because this motion's not on the floor. We're just in questions, that's right. Yeah, so we have to finish the, yeah. Okay, did you want to continue? You have like 2.5 minutes left.
The only, I guess it's just a comment. All I'm going to say is to back this up. No, I'll say it later during comments, unless the representative from the developer has anything to add to anything that been mentioned.
Through you, Mr. Chair, my name is Yuko Leclerc. I'm a planner with Foten Planning and Design here on behalf of the applicant. With respect to the matter of the apartment building being removed, we have no objection, no concern with that whatsoever.
Appreciate that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Osenik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I have a question about the proposed amendment, but my real question before that was for Site 2, where it was proposed to put the commercial building. Has this report obviously got technical review, and did traffic have any comments? Like, is it too congested right at Catwoods Drive and Bay Ridge Drive to have then an entrance to a commercial area right there, so close to the corner? It's really narrow with the way that they have rebuilt Catwoods Drive and Bay Ridge Drive, and having a lot of cars then immediately turn into a commercial, Shoppers Drug Mart or Rexall, whatever it ends up being, a grocery store. I just wondered like how traffic will work, but maybe that wouldn't happen until we see the Site 2 proposal come to Planning Committee for the final design.
Thank you. Through the chair, that's a great question. Through the pre-application process and technical review, it was commented by our transportation partners essentially to direct that entrances not occur off of Bay Ridge Drive. And I think that that's part of what informed the applicant's submission. So this has reflected that. At a point where they are in a position to submit for draft plan of subdivision, that's when they would be providing the more technical oriented details that would address entrances. Right now, this just addresses where the use would be.
Okay, thank you. Through you, so basically then traffic staff have said, for my clarification, it would be better to have it off of Catwoods Drive. Yeah, I can see how Bay Ridge Drive could be backed up by the constant right-hand turns in or out, but I also have a concern about Catwoods Drive because it's even more narrow than Bay Ridge Drive.
Thank you, and through the chair, if I could be afforded a small follow-up, is the proposed commercial block location remains at a corner location, the intersection of which it would not have, at least through initial comments from our transportation partners, is it would be off that side road and directed off of Bay Ridge and Cataraqui. It would be the future interior lot. Of course, this is based on sort of conceptual plans, and it would be on the onus on the applicant to demonstrate otherwise, subject to further review.
Okay. That helps very much. Through you, Mr. Chair, that's all my questions. Thanks for that clarification.
Thanks, and through you, Chair, just one clarification question, Councillor, or one clarification piece, Councillor Osanik. If you're looking at the key map for the site, Exhibit C, there is a little intersection you can see kind of ghosted into Catwoods Drive itself. Transportation Services staff noted they didn't even want direct accesses onto Catwoods Drive, and it would have to make use of that internal already planned road. So the traffic considerations have been reviewed by Transportation Services here, and it's, as Mr. Clendenning has pointed out, helped inform the design of this site.
Thank you.
Councillor Ustroff. We can't hear you. We still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm so sorry for the confusion. I'm just concerned, Mr. Chair, about this amendment. It seems unusual to me. I'm concerned about restricting the developer, and I don't know why the mover. What am I missing here? I'm trusting planning to have this, and I think they do. And I see that. What could possibly go wrong with leaving it the way it is? Can I just bring some more? Because I don't know if I have enough perspectives to understand this. I'm on C, but what doesn't the mover or the amender want to have happen, and why? And why are we restricting the developer from the freedom to develop?
Maybe this should be a discussion when the amendment comes through.
Yeah, sure. That's fine too.
Was there any other questions?
No, that's good for now.
All right, so is there any members of the public present wishing to speak to this report?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no members of the public online.
Okay, so can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Shaves, seconded by Councillor Glenn. Is there any discussion? Councillor Shaves.
I'd like to move an amendment, please.
Okay, so we'll take a 5-minute recess now to get the final wording.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll be back here at 6:26.
Mr. Chair, are you there?
Yes. We're having some technical difficulties, so it'll just be a few more moments.
Just want to confirm you can hear me. Vincent, are you there?
Yes, we're just having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I got it now. We're good. On my end, I'm good now. Thank you. Sorry for that.
Okay, so we have everything sorted out now. So there's a motion to amend. It's moved by Councillor Shave and seconded by Councillor Glenn. That recommendation to report PC 24-054 for 1519 Shira Drive be amended in Exhibit B to delete both subsection 1.3A II and 1.3F II in their entirety. Councillor Shaves.
Thank you. I think I've heard some concerns, but the amendment, it's not that I'm against apartment buildings, as I've approved some in other locations, and even in my location, my district. The main purpose for this amendment is the priority of giving it to having a commercial unit there. Woodhaven's basically vacant of any commercial uses, as is Catwoods Drive, or the Cattarauqui Woods area in Midland. This location has been moved from one location to its current location, is being asked to move a second time. And as I mentioned, for the sustainability is the main reason for this amendment. I sort of want to close a door for having not having a commercial unit there. The relocated commercial and residential locations are compatible with surrounding use and will fulfill the intent of the secondary plan area to create a sustainable, healthy, attractive, connected, and vibrant residential neighborhood that meets the needs of its residents. And that's something the West End doesn't really have. If you need a bag of milk, loaf of bread, or something else, basically you're getting into your vehicle, need to drive somewhere. This will help reduce that aspect. We want to keep cars at home. A lot of people will be able to walk to this location. My understanding that maybe the size that's currently approved is maybe not convenient, which I think we can change that to have a good anchor unit in that commercial building. But that's for a later time. But this area is growing. Woodhaven itself is going to be close to 2,000 units in the Cataract Way area, along with Midland, you're talking about another 1,100 units. And in Westbrook, which is not too far away, which is even more isolated than most areas of the city, they have really no commercial aspects in that area as well. And we're talking at least right now about 12,000 units, and it's growing. So there are probably, whether I just mentioned 4,000 to 5,000 units, residential units in this area. We'll probably average 2 to 3 household residents in each one, which would be easily be able to support a commercial use in this area with hopefully a large anchor grocery store. I just want to help ensure that the options are there without the potential of diverging to someplace, something else, such as a large apartment building. At least at 6 stories. And it's talked about many times about having complete communities. However, I brought it up with staff, and they agree as well that maybe we should condense that even more, make it more micro, and having complete neighborhoods. And that is the intent of this amendment, of making Woodhaven, if not the district, a complete neighborhood, having things in the area that locals, residents can attend to without the possibility of driving. Which doesn't mean that people outside the district won't stop in there, because Bay Ridge Drive is heavily used right now. So some on the way home may decide to pop in there as well. However, there's enough of a population in that area that could easily probably support a large size grocery store that will anchor this commercial unit. And I want to be able to support this commercial unit for the residents of my area. So I hope you will help support this. Thank you.
Councillor Glenn.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I'm fine with supporting the amendment, but I just thought I'd ask a couple questions for clarity. So by removing those clauses, we're still permitting the building of apartment buildings, but it must be with commercial available so that there would be access to, as Councillor Shaves has mentioned, maybe a grocery store, corner store, or something similar, correct?
Through the chair, having worked with the language of the amendment, it only deletes the clauses which allow an apartment building and that references the height of the apartment building. A mixed-use building where commercial uses are combined with residential remains permitted.
Okay, thank you. So with that as clarification, I think this shows where we've been trying to head from an environmental perspective, which is to bring services closer to people. We've got huge transportation issues, and the further that people have to travel to get to necessities, the more difficult it is for us as a city to manage. So I think that this shows good use of this potential property, so I'm happy to support the amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Osanik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I need clarification as to what this amendment is. Like, so site 1, right now, what we're doing tonight is going to be low rise. It's going to be homes, correct? Now on Shara Drive. And then site 2, which is the future, that's where the commercial's going to be, right? Because they're swapping it. So site 2 is where there's going to be commercial, and site 2 is where, if we don't have this amendment, that there's going to be an apartment, possibly. Is that true? I don't know if it's Councillor Shaves who needs to explain it or staff. I don't understand this amendment.
Thanks, and through you, Chair. by your description, you actually do quite understand the amendment. So the area on Shira Drive will be low-rise residential uses akin to what's around it today. So it's currently a host for single semis in towns, but these will be single detached lots that could have upwards of 3 to 4 units because of the new regulations passed by the city. Site 2 is being redesignated and rezoned to permit a host of uses, that of which includes commercial uses and a mixed-use building. So the amendment proposed by Councillor Shaves only removes the ability to have an apartment building on that small piece of land, but it doesn't remove the ability for the site to have a mixed-use building, which would contain commercial at grade and residential uses above. I believe the amendment is being proposed that way to maintain the primacy of the commercial uses of that site, so that whatever develops out there has the option to have that commercial use associated with it at grade.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair, for that clarification. If we don't support the amendment, it could still be an apartment one day with commercial?
Yes, through you, Chair. There could be an apartment building there, or there could be an apartment building with commercial. It just has more options, but I believe the intent for the amendment is to just have, and Councillor Shaves can correct me if I'm wrong, the ability to maintain commercial as the primary function there. So an apartment building wouldn't be allowed by itself as of right without commercial at the grade. So the amendment is just tweaking that a little bit, and both bylaws as proposed conform to the official plan, because there's more than one way to conform to the official plan and the designation that's being brought forward. So neither is incorrect in conformity to the plan, but one just looks at maintaining the commercial aspects of that site to make sure that in the future, commercial is a primary consideration for development there.
I see. And so, well, through you, Mr. Chair, one other point of clarification. So if with this amendment, the commercial can be a standalone, but so it could be like a big Shoppers Drug Mart that we see as standalone. But if we support the report without the amendment, then if it's an apartment building, it would just be commercial at the bottom, which would be probably a lot smaller commercial. Is that right?
So the way, thanks you, through you, Chair. The way the bylaw is structured is it allows for mixed-use buildings, which is commercial at grade. It allows for commercial uses, if I'm looking at this correctly. Yep, district commercial. So it allows for commercial uses by themselves. So it could be your small-scale commercial plaza with no residential, just commercial. It could be a mixed-use building, which could contain a building up to 6 stories in height, which would have residential uses on floors 2 through 6, with commercial at grade, or it could just have an apartment building. In addition to that, it could also have, houses, semi-detached houses, townhouses, but these are all things permitted by this zone and designation as a carry forward from the previous site. So the bylaw, as it was written and proposed by staff, would allow for those host of uses. The proposed amendment would just remove standalone apartment buildings. That way, if an apartment building was proposed on the site, it would have to contain commercial at grade.
You're on mute.
Is it my turn?
Oh, were you done, Lisa? Councillor Osanek?
Oh, yeah, I am. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Councillor Wustroff.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. One sec. Yeah, thanks to Councillor Osanek for those questions. I'm just trying to understand this as well, Mr. Chair. I think I do. I guess my question is, this is unusual because it feels like we're sort of tinkering a bit, and I guess we're allowed to do that. That's maybe our job. But I wanted to ask staff: it's pretty small change? Are we? Is this something that staff can roll with and still be successful, in a sense of, because for us, we as planning committee, we already know how, why wouldn't this already have been designed this way for a smaller community, so fully serviced community? Why isn't there already a directional intention for commercial here? Why? I've wondered that in past developments. Where would we have pinpointed or directed a commercial development, such as a Shoppers Drug Mart or something substantial enough so that people don't have to go far for groceries? And I don't even think this. I think this looks like a really small lot. So maybe staff can clarify, if you know what I mean. Why can't this be left alone as it is, and staff do the direction to the developer?
Thanks, and through you, Chair. I'll start with the short part of the answer, and that is that staff don't have a concern with this proposed amendment. It still allows for commercial on the site and its considerations. It still allows for higher density residential uses and their considerations as well. And it allows for that mix, and that mixed use building is something that I think you hear us say a lot in this public setting, because that is something we try to encourage. And really what that's doing is trying to maintain the primacy of the site for that. If you look at the bylaw as well, Director Park pointed out to me that the intent for this site as well, while allowing 2,000 square meters of commercial space, is to have, smaller neighborhood serving uses. So the maximum size of each resident or each commercial unit here is 300 square meters. That's roughly 3,000 square feet. So the amendment that's proposed tonight doesn't concern staff. I would say we would be supportive of such an amendment. It's just, when you look at the intent of the designation, it allows for a wide variety of things. It's okay if some of those are scoped. And in speaking with the applicant's agent, I don't believe they have a concern with it either.
You through the chair, that's what I was looking for, because I respect the developer, and obviously I respect staff. And so this area was already designated to serve a community in a commercial approach. So if it's just a tweak to it, I'm okay with it, and understand. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Councillor McLaren.
Thank you. In the event that commercial businesses can't be found, will they be forced to leave that space vacant, or will they be allowed to turn it into residential?
Thanks, and through you, Chair, with the way planning is structured in Ontario, I would say very few things are absolute and final and prohibited long-term. People can always submit a development application to have alternative planning approvals considered for their property. So should commercial not be viable here, or should they need more lands for the commercial use that they're proposing, the applicant can bring forward a development application to amend the official plan and the zoning to ask for additional considerations for their property. Additionally, the secondary plan also contains a clause that if there are 2,000 doors reached within the Cat Woods secondary plan, which I know that's not the name of it, I want to say it's Cat West. Lots of W's in the city of Kingston when we learn to describe things, but it's the Cat West secondary plan, and once they reach a certain threshold of doors, they're actually able to redevelop the commercial block for residential uses without an amendment to the plan, just by the way it was structured. This plan is probably 24 years old now. It dates back quite a number of years, I think, that might actually be too many. 2007? Okay, that was too many. I don't think I understood that it was not 2032. But, that is a plan that substantially a long time ago, the city looked a bit different. We were developing a bit differently. So the considerations for development were a bit different. Moving forward to today, do staff have an interest in seeing some commercial built out for more complete communities within our city? The answer is yes. So, we would continue to work with the applicant to try and make the best commercial development happen on that site when that development application comes forward for a future plan of subdivision on this lot. So I know that was a long answer, Councillor McLaren, but I hope that was a round answer. And if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
That's good.
Okay. Would you take the chair? Councillor Glenn?
I take the chair and recognize you.
So I have a question and comment. So would there be looking at this, removing these things, would there be any unintended consequences where it could trigger something else that we wouldn't desire by removing these clauses?
Through you, Chair or Vice Chair? No.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this either. I mean, it's similar to buildings in my district where it requires ground floor commercial, so, which is needed. Like, I think it's a great idea. So yeah, I'll be supporting this.
And I return the chair to you.
Okay, so now I guess we go to, oh yeah, final. Go ahead.
Thank you. Question to staff. So if this amendment gets approved, and we're just talking about the small area within of Site 2 and not the greater area, which also is encompassed, will the applicant be able to construct, develop apartment buildings outside the commercial area?
Thanks, and through you, Chair. Councilor Shaves, can you just please repeat the question? I think I missed the last part of it.
So this amendment, I want to confirm, this amendment only refers to the small commercial area where we're talking about, which is slightly larger than Site 1. But Site 2 also includes a much larger area. If this amendment is approved, will the applicant still, if they wanted to, develop apartment buildings outside the commercial area?
Thanks, and through you, Chair, they wouldn't be able to do that as of right, but if they wanted to come in and submit an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, I don't even know if an official plan amendment would be required. We'd have to look into that, but they could submit development applications to have other sites on their lands considered for an apartment building.
Okay.
The zoning as it is today, as urban residential 3, allows for a host of ground-oriented, low-rise residential uses, which are single semis in towns.
Okay. I think I got that. And would you be able to share the history of this site from the previous site on the south side of Catwoods to its current site and where it's going now? So then everyone sort of understands the somewhat history, because this commercial site has been moved, like I said, already once. This is going to be the second location. And if I'm correct, the applicant has always wanted to build a commercial site, but the two sites, the past site and the current site, haven't been really the best locations for those.
Thanks, and through you, Chair. Yes, this site has moved previously. Before, it used to be at the southwest corner of Catwoods and what is Holden Street today. It then moved to the northeast. They're proposing again to move it further down Catwoods towards Bay Ridge. I will note that I don't fully know the past conversations that happened around the moving of that commercial block. That is before my time. But I know we have engaged in discussions with the applicants about actually increasing the size of that commercial block. And I don't think that's a discussion that had happened before when we're thinking about the commercial viability for the site and potential commercial offerings for the area. It's not a discussion that's reflected in today's amendments, but by moving the block over to the east, it puts it in a larger undeveloped piece of land, which allows us to have considerations for increasing the size of that commercial block, options which don't exist today because of how the previous plan of subdivision, which is Woodhaven 4, built out. So homes already exist around that block. But the applicant and city staff are and have been in active discussions about the future of that commercial block, about it getting larger, having more commercial offerings, and being developed as a mixed-use block. These are options that require, additional planning justification and thinking, given the structure of our current plan, including a market assessment. So that additional work still has to be done, but it is one that staff have actively been discussing with the applicant team.
Okay, so it was technically supposed to be a closing statement? Not
Okay,
necessarily questions.
clarification for those who were inquiring about the history, and because the history of this lot was supposed to be commercial, that was always the intent of the applicant, and it's just been moved a couple times. As I mentioned before, this is just more to close a possible door of having an apartment building and more gearing the applicant to having a commercial lot at this site, and not just maybe a Shoppers Drug Mart, but hopefully the intent, and if I understand correctly, maybe having something larger like a Food Basics or No Frills, like a large grocery joint to anchor that commercial area. So that's more the intent where I want to sort of want to guide them. And outside that commercial area, which is right now, no issues with there being just a strict apartment building. Just this area needs to be more sustainable. I think it's a part of our strat planning, keeping cars home, have more things within our neighborhoods for residents to either walk, bike, or take transit. And the walking and biking part would be great with this proposal. And that's why I'm putting this amendment to remove the option of having an apartment building, at least for this site. If they want to come back outside the actual commercial area, I have no problem supporting that within the 6 stories. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? And opposed? And that carries. Okay, so now back to the original motion as amended. So is there anyone else that had anything they wanted to say? No? Okay, all in favor? And that passes. Okay, so moving on. So there are no motions. There are no notices of motion. Is there any other business? No, there is no correspondence. So the next meeting of the Planning Committee is scheduled for Thursday, October 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Do I have a mover and seconder for adjournment? Moved by Councillor Glenn, seconded by Councillor Shaves. All in favor? And good night, everyone.